So there are three parts to the Adobe Premiere workflow. The first is import, the second is edit, and the third is export. So to start out, what we want to do is we want to make a project folder on the desktop. You're going to place all of your files inside this folder on the desktop. To get started, you're going to look for this icon in your dock. If you don't have this icon in your dock, then you need to do a search to go find it. And once Premiere launches, now when you get to this window, you want to say, I want to start a new project. And then in this case, we'll name our project. So you're going to want to save your work to the folder that you made earlier. And then once you've set the location of your files, then you can say, OK. Now, you've got to tell Premiere the type of what's called a sequence, what type of sequence you're going to use. So we're going to go to File, we're going to say New Sequence, and then in our sequence settings, we're going to pick AVCHD 1080p 30, and then we're going to say OK. Now this will set up the timeline to work with the files in the correct format. Next thing you're going to do to import is you're going to drag and drop your files to what's called the bin or the project window. So you'll take your file folder and you'll just drag it in. So once you drag it, it'll import. So that's how we import files into Premiere. So the next part of working with Premiere is to edit. So we're going to open up this folder, and here's all of our shots. So what we need to do is we need to bring all these clips into the timeline. So you're going to take your clips, in this case the clips are numbered, and you're going to drag them onto the timeline. Now once we have all the clips on the timeline, we need to add our title and our credits. So to make a title, you go to File, New, Legacy Title. Right now it's called Title 1. We say OK. Enter the title. So this is the workflow. There are controls to make things bigger or smaller. So if we want to make the font size bigger, we come over here and we just drag and the font will get bigger. Now we need to center it. So we're going to right click and we're going to go position horizontal center and then position vertical center. Now we need to take this title and we need to put it in the front of the film. It needs to be the first thing. So we can't just drag and drop it because it will erase what's underneath it. So what we need to do is we need to do what's called an insert edit and put it right here in the front. So the way that we do that is to hold down the Command key and then drag that title, and you'll see a little icon there, and when you do that it will push the title in and push all of the clips down the timeline so you don't have to move them one by one. So that's your title. So now I need to add my branding. This is the logo that I made. So I'm going to take my logo, I'm going to hold down the Command key, and I'm going to drop it right in front of my title. So now I have my branding, and I have my title. Now you can see my logo is too big. So I can click on it, and then I can come over here to Effects Controls, go to Motion and Scale, and drag the scale until it fits. So now my logo fits. So that's how I change the size of my logo. So that's how I do my titles. Now I need to do my credits. So I go to the end of the timeline and I'm going to go back up to File, New, and it's Legacy Title, and this will be Title 2, and I'm going to put my credits in there. And so there's a slide that talks about credits, but for today we're just going to say produced by and then your name. And then we want to center that, so we click up here on centered. And then remember, we can scale it, so we can make it a little bit bigger. So we'll scale it up. And then we want to center it. So we're going to right click and we're going to say position horizontal center and position vertical center. Now the part that we're going to make it roll, this is the tough part. You've got to come up here in the corner and you've got to look for this little teeny icon. This is the roll icon. You click on it and you'll get this title window. So you want it to roll and you want it to start off screen and you want it to end off screen. And then you'd say OK. So there's your credits. Take your credits and drag them to the end of your timeline. And then there is your rolling credits. Now the final part of Premiere is to export. So you're gonna get this out of Premiere so that you can send it to me. So you're gonna go to the File menu and you're gonna pick Export Media. And then a window will come up. And in this window, you want to make sure that your format is H.264. Then you want to click on this blue link. You want to make sure that you're saving your movie to a place where you can find it. So I'm putting it in my folder that I made earlier, or you could save it to the desktop. But you need to make sure that this is set to either the desktop or the folder that you made, because it's going to default to root and you can't get your file there and you'll have to start over. Then we say save, and so that's got all the settings, and then you click on export and it's going to set up your or encode your sequence into a file that the computer can read. And that is the Premiere workflow.